so we have it in high sign. We can call our meeting to order. And we'll start with that. First up, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? I believe we have some presented, and it's out in public, so we'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Your interest? Support. Motion support, last chance for any additional changes or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor be yes?
Yes.
Any opposed is no, and that motion is carried. You have taken the roll, and you've got Roxanne. Welcome, Roxanne.
Thank you.
Just in the nick of time.
Yeah.
We were waiting for you, not very patiently, but. Okay, our next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, so. Roxanne, you go. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much.
I know.
Okay, next up, we'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the November 9th, 2022 regular meeting. Your pleasure.
Support.
I have motion supported. Are there comments, questions, additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed would be no. The motion is carried. Okay, so moving down to communication, we have, communication, we're considering a resolution to receive a letter of resignation from Commissioner Piccolo.
So moved with regret.
Support with regret.
Okay, we have a motion. Are there any additional comments or questions? Do you want to give a little background on our intent, at least, for how this is going to work tonight?
Yeah,
We've got some plans here.
Yep, Commissioner Piccolo has submitted his letter of resignation effective this evening. Obviously, we just had an election to fill Commissioner Piccolo's seat because he did not rerun. But in the meantime, according to our charter, we need to replace somebody in that seat within 30 days of that vacation of that seat, which is, we have more than 30 days before the first of the year when the new commissioners come on. So what we'll be doing tonight, Andrew Bear did win the seat that was up that Commissioner Piccolo held. So what we're going to do is kind of get him started earlier, I guess you'd say, lack of a better word, get him started earlier by appointing him to the seat to finish out the remainder of the year. And then when January 1 rolls on, he'll come on to his 2-year seat that he was elected into, which he's already taken the oath for and ready to go on January 1. So, like I was telling Sarah today, another thing that we've never ever had to do before, and something to learn from, and of how to get the process to work. But we thought it was best to get Andrew on board sooner than later, so that seat was filled with a commissioner. So that's what we'll be doing.
Good.
Just point of order, would it not be better to move appointments up to an earlier point in the meeting, like now, and put him on, rather than wait for 4 or 5 things to have happened before we appoint Andrew? Is that a possibility? Appoint Andrew Bear to the seat vacated.
And give him the ability to vote on some of things.
Yeah.
Certainly could.
Is that a motion?
If it can be done, that's a motion.
It's your discretion, yes.
Okay, that's a
That is
motion.
your motion.
Support.
Okay, we have motion support. So we're rearranging our agenda to move item K, the appointment, up
Do we
to,
have to say, do we all have to, did we agree to next resignation? We didn't.
Oh, no, we didn't do that yet.
oh, we didn't get
No,
something.
we didn't.
Okay.
We didn't. We
So
just-
we have to do that thing first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just
All
wanna
right.
make sure.
So all those in favor of accepting Nick's resignation with regrets, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? No? Okay, we have now accepted his resignation, so sorry about that, thank you. So now I think we can be open for your motion if you care to re-enter that.
I will re-enter the motion to move item number 1 under appointments to immediately after the communication.
Support.
Okay, we have motion support. Any more comments or questions? Is this clear? So all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no. Motion is carried, and we'll move that up. So we'll move down to the appointments, or move to the appointments, and we are to, Pardon
We
me?
have to make the motion.
We haven't made the
first.
motion. We
As
haven't-
soon as we make him official.
We haven't done it yet, so. The motion, or the item before us is consider a resolution to appoint Andrew Bear to fill a city commission seat vacated by the resignation of Commissioner Nick Piccolo for the unexpired and remaining term through December 31, 2022. Your pleasure.
Support.
Okay, we have motion support, comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried, and
Come
you
on,
are
Drew.
appointed.
And as you walk by, just slide
So-
next
You
slide.
gonna sign the thing?
Yeah, he's already been sworn in.
Bye-bye.
Does it be sworn in second?
Does he have to be sworn in
For
again
this one.
for this term?
Oh.
Because typically we're sworn in on every
Yeah.
term.
I guess you're, yes, I guess, yes.
We'll give you a couple minutes, you probably have to go get some, your book.
I do.
Get some swearing stuff.
Yeah, some swearing stuff. So forgive us for the pause and misdirection here, but
We like to keep things interesting.
And this has never happened before, I don't think, in
It's not.
the annals.
any confusion? or
Just so there's no
that-
confusion.
No, that's happened.
That happens regularly, so.
Thank you.
So people watch at home are.
Don't think it's your Nick,
Nick looks different tonight.
slightly. Welcome, Drew.
Welcome, Drew.
Glad to have you aboard.
Happy to be here. Talk about getting thrown in feet first.
He's here. He's been paying attention.
And as since we're waiting, Andrew was also a member on our planning commission previous, so he has submitted his resignation from the planning commission. According to the charter with our planning commission, the mayor and one other commissioner sits on the planning commission. We can't have a second city commissioner sit, so, yeah, so Andrew has stepped down from that, and we'll be reaching out to one of our ZBA members to see if they'd like to fill that seat, so. Yes, yep. Like I said, it's just something new all the time, so. COVID did some weird things, so, and this is part of it.
Probably would have been helpful if we could get Sarah a little bit. but it's
Yeah,
on this.
she's been off, and she was good enough to come in earlier today to help out with some of that.
It's nice to have all the police here for the one's longest meeting tonight. I hope you guys don't get called away.
Dual control on it back there, something.
Yeah.
Well, that is a good topic today.
It is.
Yeah.
Gonna be another exciting Saturday in town. Yeah.
We're gonna feel like we're at the beach, 43. Heat wave.
So,
Especially, how was that, Eric?
it was cold. It was great. It was,
Did you hear Topher on the radio? It sounded like he was cold.
Yeah.
well, they have him way up on the
That's
top
what
with the
they
wind
said.
break.
Sounded
Yeah.
rough, yeah.
And Jeff's water bottle froze, and Topher thought he'd gotten through the thing fine, and he went the next morning and his computer wouldn't start. So,
They sounded cold.
yeah, they did.
That was impressive.
And to get a second NCAA game.
Yeah.
That's, a lot of firsts.
Yeah, first.
Right.
Lots of good things going on in college these days, that's for sure.
It's great for the town too, and everybody's like,
That's
it's
right.
not, you know,
Oh, yeah.
it's not too long.
Was full.
Yeah, it was.
Well, Nichols has been doing a pretty good job keeping the restaurants full. I know we do our share.
Yeah.
try and build the suspense, so that, you know, it's really meaningful for you when it happens. Yes.
I'm here to take it last week. Drive to.
Yeah.
Twice a week.
Oh, I apologize. I've been out of the office and my deputy had the book so that she could swear in some other people while I was gone. And we couldn't find where she left it.
Oh, no.
So I apologize.
Our fault for not getting you heads up that this was gonna occur,
Nope,
so.
nope.
Jumping on
Just a
that.
minute. Okay, so did you want to repeat after me or did you want to give me the I do at the end?
I will say I do.
Okay. Okay. Do you solemnly, oh, I'm sorry, right hand, please, thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the State of Michigan and the Constitution of the United States, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of City Commissioner in and for the City of Elma, the County of Gratiot, to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Let me get official order and watching. Here.
Now we can say welcome, Commissioner.
I don't know, I didn't realize it was left-handed, so. Updated, nice, dotted, T's crossed. Take your time.
Take care of the rest of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, and again, I apologize for not
No worries.
giving you a heads up on that one, so. Okay, so I thank everybody for your indulgence on that, but we do feel it's important to get Andrew up here with us, so that's great. Next up, I guess we're gonna hold a hearing.
New business.
Oh, new business, I'm sorry, yep. Presentation from the representative of the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police regarding the Alma Police Department's recent accreditation, so, if you would please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor, City Commissioners, city officials, citizens of Alma that are here and both watching at home. My name is Robert Stevenson. I'm currently the Executive Director with the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police. Held this position for about 11 years, and prior to that, I spent 37 years at the Livonia Police Department. I'm here tonight representing the Michigan Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission as we award the Certificate of Accreditation to the Alma Police Department. One of the things that I've been able to do in my position in the last 11 years is go around the state and see many, many police departments. And while you know that you've had a good police department, I can tell you that the Alma Police Department is even better today for voluntarily going through everything that it takes to become accredited. I think sometimes when you're around excellence in a good police department, you just don't recognize it, and you don't maybe even totally feel what this accomplishment is, but maybe this would help put it in perspective just a little bit. In the state of Michigan, there's 589 police agencies. Of those 589 police agencies, about 389 on any given day are municipal agencies. There's 83 county sheriffs, county police departments in the state. And then the rest are made up of colleges and hospitals and such, but just a little bit less than 600 that are there. Of the 600 police agencies that are here in the state of Michigan, your police agency is only the 54th to obtain accreditation. Or to put it a little bit differently, your police agency has been able to accomplish what 90% of the other police agencies in the state of Michigan have not been able to accomplish. I'm extremely proud of your police department. I'm sure you are also, because they're elevating the profession of policing. It's no secret that the last few years have had some very trying times for law enforcement. There's been some calls for what's been called police reform. But I'm here to tell you and to assure the citizens of Alma that every one of those police reform calls that were out there, your police department has already done them. And they did them voluntarily, and they did them before all the calls came out for that. So you should be extremely proud of them, just like I'm extremely proud of them. Your chief, Olga, sits on our commission. She goes around the state, and she also looks at other police agencies. More importantly, she's part of the board that oversees this whole program. It's quite an accomplishment, and we appreciate that she volunteers to do that for us. So, again, when I started my little spiel here, I said we're here to award the certificate of accreditation. We don't give these out. You have to earn them. And I'm going to introduce retired Chief Ron Wiles, who's the program director for the accreditation program, and he's going to speak a little bit about the program itself. Chief?
Well, good evening. It is certainly my honor to be here to acknowledge the great work that the Elma Police Department has done. My name is Ron Wiles. I'm the Deputy Director for the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police and the Accreditation Program Director for the MELEAC program. Accreditation is a time-proven method for police agencies to improve their overall performance. Where the foundation in our program lies in the voluntary compliance of 108 best practice professional standards. Voluntary compliance, that's the key to this whole program. No one's making your police department do this, but the leadership of this police department is pursuing excellence, and that's what accreditation does. And let me walk you through the process for the accreditation. The first decision is the biggest decision. Are we gonna do it? And they did. And to be successful in this program, you have to have very knowledgeable and skilled and committed accreditation managers. Accreditation will change your police agency. It takes good police agencies and it gives them the opportunity to be great. And I have no doubt that the Elma Police Department is gonna do just that. The Elma Police Department has, I believe, 3 accreditation managers, plus the entire department working together to accomplish this. This is a team effort, and that's what we do the most buy-ins when it's a team effort. You should be proud of the teamwork that your agency has exhibited. After you make that decision to join the agency, we give you 2 years for what's called the self-analysis period. During that period, you look at all your current policies. You look at all 108 voluntary standards. Now, when I say 108 standards, it's just not 108 things. Each standard has little bullets off that. So we're talking about 480 different things that the police agency has to do. Not only do they have to do them, they have to be able to show that they did them through what we call proofs. So we give them 2 years to do this. Now, you can get an extension if needed, but 2 years is the time that we give them. During that 2 years, we have people come in and they do a mock assessment. They give you very honest, sometimes brutal feedback about how you're doing in the process, just to make sure you're going along that right path. When the police agency thinks they're ready, they go to that next step, which is the on-site assessment. We bring in 2 trained assessors from outside of the area, usually command officers from police agencies, and we have some civilian assessors as well. And they take a deep dive into the policies to make sure they comply with the 108 standards and make sure they have proofs to show that they're doing it. It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it. After the assessors make their final report, it goes to the commission for a hearing. So 3 commissioners sit in front of the chief and the director, in this case, and the accreditation managers, and they discuss the final report. They always have questions about the report, various programs they run, various things that may not be clear to them, and they make the final decision on accreditation or not. And I'm proud to say, in this case, the commission unanimously voted to approve accreditation for the Elma Police Department. Now, usually that would be enough, but there's one more step. The last step in this isn't a one and done. We want to make sure that they stay compliant with these 108 best practice standards. So in 3 years, we will send our assessors back out here. They will reevaluate the police department to make sure they're still doing and showing us that they're doing it what they say they are going to do. Accreditation is a promise made. Reaccreditation is a promise kept. And I'm quite confident knowing that the staff here at the Elma Police Department, they're going to keep that promise to you, to their police department, and to the citizens of Alma. So you should be very proud. We are very proud of them. It is a heavy lift, and for a 15-person department, they did an outstanding job. With that, I'd like to introduce our current president of the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police, Eaton Rapids Chief Larry Weeks.
I get the fun stuff. Good evening, everyone. Before I have the director come up and present him with the award, I'd just like to say thank you on behalf of law enforcement for being city leaders that support your police department. Nothing really happens at our police departments really without your support. It'd be easy for communities to pull funding and shift funding elsewhere, but obviously as a community, you're committed to having a quality police department and you invest in your police department. So genuinely, I'm genuinely grateful that you take the time to do that. In today's world, that is very valuable to us, so thank you. Director, if you're around somewhere, there he is. He's sitting right behind me. To all who see this certificate, know that the Elma Police Department, having voluntarily complied with the standards established by the Michigan Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission, deemed essential for the delivery of professional police services and the protection of their community, is hereby awarded the certificate of accreditation, effective as of this first day of October in the year 2022 for a term of 3 years. Congratulations, Director.
of all, I'd like to thank the members of the MACP that are here tonight. Thank you for your patience with us and your support. You've become real mentors to us, and the team effort here was great. So I really appreciate them. I also want to thank the rest of the members of the police department. It was a great task. In standing up here with a 15-man department, it is quite incredible. The thing that I'd like to say most is a thank you to the three managers, primarily Chief Overla. It was a few years ago, she dragged me to a meeting, and we went through this, and she says, "Do you think we can do this?" And we discussed it, and yes, I thought we could do it. And then she asked me if I could get her the tools necessary to do it, and I assured her that I could, and I did. And what she did is got in the driver's seat, and here we are today. So I appreciate and proud of you for what you've done, and to everyone under you. I do accept this, but I accept it on behalf of the department and primarily Chief Orville. So thank you, and appreciate y'all.
Andrew, you can.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Jenna, take a
Thank
picture
you.
of all of them with your mom in it and send it. Okay. Thank you.
Quite an accomplishment. We are indeed proud of that.
Yes, Sergeant.
Okay. So, hold public hearing for review of proposed ordinance number 834, which is an ordinance to provide for the licensing and regulation of recreational marijuana establishments, and proposed ordinance number 836, which is an ordinance to regulate the location of medical and recreational marijuana facilities within the city of Alma. And since this begin 6 o'clock or after, we're going to go with that. So,
Move to open the
Open
hearing.
the hearing.
So moved.
Motion support. All those in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. Hearing is open. So,
I take the lead on.
okay.
Okay, two ordinances we want to talk about, I guess, and hear the public's comments on. The first one is the recreational marijuana ordinance itself. And just a couple of things, because I know it's been out there for quite a while. I think most people have read it, that want to read it, I guess. Essentially what it does, it allows 2 growers, 2 processors, 3 retailers, 2 marijuana safety compliance establishments, and 2 marijuana secure transport. The Michigan statute that created this possibility requires, in the case of recreational marijuana ordinances, that there's a competitive process to get you the best applicant or the best applicants to fill however many slots you have. There is a situation that could arise where you have 2 or more competitive, or let's say more competitive applications than you have slots. In that situation, this is section 10B, there will be a lottery, but the hope is that with the analysis that will be done, we'll be able to pick out the best one, and that won't be necessary. The second ordinance is and there's a lot more to it, I guess, but the second ordinance is the zoning ordinance that has to be amended, because the question then is, where are you going to allow these establishments? So you've got the OS, office services, the B2, general business, the LI, limited industrial, GI, general industrial, where these establishments can be located. The medical marijuana ordinance had a buffer of 300 feet from a school. I don't know if it was a church, I think it was the school and the parks. This has been increased to 500 feet, so the buffer is a little bit larger. there are, you know, a lot of other provisions, obviously, but those are the highlights. So I guess what the thought is, we'd like to hear what the public has to say, and then the commissioners, you know, whatever the commissioners have to say, and then it's the commissioner's prerogative as to whether or not there'll be a motion tonight. There could be, there doesn't have to be. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, thank you. So are there any members of the public that would like to address the commission? Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and share your thoughts.
Good evening. Nice presentation. What an accomplishment by your police department. Really incredible. Wish they were here. Give them my congratulations as well. Thank you for hearing me tonight. My name is Jen Zielinski. I am with the Pierre Lapierre. We are an approved medical marijuana provisioning center here within Alma. So obviously, kind of keeping tabs and listening to the discussions as adult use conversations has been had by the commission here. One thing that I just want to make mention of within the ordinance is the amount of time in which the approval is issued by the city in light of turning around and becoming operational. I believe it's about 2 months for that time frame. Excuse me, not to become operational, to be state licensed. I'm going to take a minute. And in that, the state itself, when you apply for your license, the state has 90 days to approve or deny an application. So 2 months may not be feasible. And additionally, if you're looking at having state licensure from city approval 2 months to being state licensed, the state requires that these facilities are fully built out, completely constructed, prior to even an applicant submitting their application to the state for a license. So 2 months probably isn't gonna work within the state timeline for their approval process. And then any of the folks that may or may not have to do renovations, or if they're building new, 2 months probably is not gonna be enough time for them to acquire state licensure. So I just wanted to make sure that, put that out here for everyone and just their consideration as we review the ordinance tonight.
That's section 11B.
So you're saying that the state requires that you have your building fully operational before you get the license? So you could have a building built and then be denied a license?
So the state works in a 2-step application process. The first step is to approve your business acumen. So they'll vet the applicants, the individuals, they'll vet the entities, and you get an approval for a pre-qualification to licensure. And once you then work with the municipality and obtain your certificate of occupancy, then you apply to the state, and the state then has 90 days to complete the licensure of said facility. So it's a 2-step process.
So you have a kind of a go-ahead
Right.
prior to the.
Yeah, exactly.
Good, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission?
This is kind of what I assume would happen tonight. I have representatives from the 3 that are currently authorized for medical. One thing that I didn't notice in the ordinance is there's no mention of anything having to do with the entities that have been granted the medical permits. So I don't know if that's something that should be worked in, or if that's just not a consideration. So anybody can apply for this adult use retail opportunity, irrespective of whether or not they have already went through the process to obtain approval for medical. So just one thing to think about there. A couple of specific things that I'll point out just for consideration. Section 12H, 12H rather, prohibits the use of tobacco on premise, which I don't understand. I mean, as someone who is a cigarette smoker, has been for quite some time, for someone to tell me that I can't smoke cigarettes on my own property that would be an issue for me. And I don't understand the rationale there. So I brought this up when Arcata was drafting their ordinance. So just food for thought and something else to consider. In that, close to that same section, 12I, no retail center should be operated in a manner creating noise, dust, vibration, glare, fumes, or odors detectable to normal senses beyond the boundaries of the property. Glare and noise from the property, I mean, a door closing will emit noise past the boundary of the property. Music playing inside will do that. So, and I'm not aware of any other business that is regulated that stringently, I guess. You know, and this is walk out of my law office, probably 50% of the time or more, I can smell Pizza Sam's coming at me. So, I mean, there's odors from businesses that emanate past the property boundaries. I think that should be considered. Two other little things, 12R and V are the same, so I think that was just an oversight. And then 18B, I think contains a typo where it references a village rather than the city. So other than that, appreciate you guys taking this up, and obviously we're in support of it. So thank you.
Hey, is there a third? How about that?
Sean McEwen with Consumer Cannabis on Warwick Drive. We are just appreciative to be in the final stretch here. I know my partner in crime, Jake, was here last time with us as well, and we've been mentioning buffers between licensures, so I again will bring that up one more time. I don't know if that's something that can be looked at as you go to the zoning ordinance as well, but it is something that we think is beneficial to every one of the licensures here, or potential licensures as well. But other than that, we're happy to be kind of at the final stretch here. We appreciate you guys all. Thanks.
Thank you. Other members of the public who would like to address the commission on this topic? I'm not seeing any motions towards the podium, so we'll assume that that is the end of the public comment section. Are there comments from the commissioners? Questions? Changes anyone wants to promote at this point? Items that are addressed?
Yep, did do a draft scoring matrix, as the attorney mentioned, that if we get more than 3 applicants, say for the retail, that we would need to go in and give them scoring, basically to kind of weed out which ones we would deem best for our community. We took this from, I believe it was the Peak Me scoring matrix, and a lot of it made sense. A lot of the stuff that we discussed, from rehabbing current buildings, using if it's an historic building, if it's a current building that is in distress, providing points for those sorts of things, all the way through to how detailed their business plans are, to kind of weed out who would be the best fit for that, for this in our community. So obviously there's a bunch of different ways we could look at the scoring matrix, but after looking at the 3 that we pulled, this one seemed to be not so far to like a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 10. It felt like it weighted it out a little bit better. So you weren't like, someone looked at it and said, oh gosh, here you gave 10 points to an historic building, but here are you rehabbing a current building? There's 1 point. It's an historic building, there's another point. So it felt a little more.
I like thinking
And so this addresses what Zach was talking about, right? I mean, this
To a
gives
certain
points
extent.
for.
To a certain extent.
Right,
To
but
a
it
certain
gives,
extent.
yeah.
But what Zach's speaking to is if it's not in here, if you had like a current medical license that you.
And you could
Oh.
add that criteria.
Okay.
If you're a current medical
No.
license.
Wasn't that in here? Oh, I thought it was. I thought I remembered.
We
seeing
talked
that.
about it, but
Yeah,
it's not in this.
I think that is a good
The other,
addition to.
I don't know how you guys, I'm looking at the 4th page of that where it describes, I guess, patrons as patients. I don't know if that's the right term. I don't know
Well,
if you
medical,
say-
that's probably better.
Well, even if it's, yeah, I don't know, but I would say it should be patrons maybe, or clients maybe. And then on the, yeah, and then at the top of page 5, it says medical too, and I think the medical ought to be knocked off, deleted, it should just be marijuana, and then patients under the insurance plan as well.
Yeah, you get into calling them patients, you'll ever be coming under HIPAA.
I don't know if it's a good.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, when you're talking recreational versus medical
Right,
makes
yeah,
sense.
that is covered by HIPAA.
We're a
Right.
patient.
Yeah.
By definition.
On that same line, that there's a couple of points that are allocated for maintaining medical certifications or licenses on the part of the ownership. I don't know if that was in the ordinance for the purpose of, because it was a medical ordinance, so maybe that's not applicable to this either.
I guess that's up for debate, that, might be helpful, I don't know. I guess that's
It's debatable if it brings any value to the
Yeah, I don't
matters. Going forward, I don't think it does, but.
I guess the other question I had is, I guess it was, good to hear about this 2-month, section 11B. I guess I don't have a handle on how long you get. I mean, I think this commission is sensitive, to the fact that with the medical, that a lot of folks didn't follow through.
Yeah.
And I think the timing is important, but I guess if 2 months is gonna make it impossible, that ought to be changed, but what's possible? I
Is
don't
it
know.
proper to ask each of the two of them what they think would be a reasonable time? They're both gonna be involved.
Gotta ask somebody.
Yeah,
But if
you
the
know.
state says if they have up to 3 months, then it has to be more than 3 months, because the state, we certainly know that the state can take up to the 11th hour.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we don't wanna put somebody in a position where they can't.
Probably 6 months is more
Sure,
appropriate.
right.
My inclination was 2 months beyond the
Whatever,
90 days,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
You give them the 2 months that, kind of what we intended, or Tony intended with that, but after the
Even
state.
so, Zach, Jen, what are you thinking of as rehab time for the buildings you're currently thinking about?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Altman. I certainly don't want to put, my own, or just a time frame out of thin air, if you will. But what I've seen in other communities is they generally follow suit with their building permits and/or their special land use approvals, where the timing that's contained within those approvals kind of carries over to their marijuana ordinances. So typically what I've seen is usually a 6-month window to get certificate of occupancy with a filing for a 6-month extension with just cause. So that's typically, correct me if you've seen other things or if I'm wrong in any of that, but kind of typically it follows suit with the procedure for opening a business under the zoning ordinances.
Can I say something? Great information that you guys have provided tonight, but I do feel a little uncomfortable, like we're tailoring the ordinance to the 3 that are sitting in the audience. I feel that maybe we should find that information specifically out from either what other people have put in their ordinance, or we contact the state, or
Maybe.
it just, for us to say, well, how much time do you guys want? It makes it look like we're not opening it up as a competitive process, and we're kind of tailoring it to the 3 that are in the room, which I know they're probably gonna hold more leverage, and that's okay, because they have the licenses. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
I
I
just,
would
it's
argue
making me
that everybody in the
uncomfortable.
world could have came tonight.
Well, no, but it just makes me uncomfortable sitting here, because if we do have somebody else that, wants the license, or wants the,
Well, we have changes, so I don't think that we were gonna approve it tonight, so.
No, I know, but I just
We can
feel
do
like
research.
some of that information sounds like it's, pretty standard, so maybe if we,
Yeah, that kind of.
that question just was like, oh, I'm a little uncomfortable with saying, like, how much time do you guys want to do?
And I know what the.
No, it made you uncomfortable too?
Yeah, but, so I just deferred to what
Yeah,
I've seen.
no, I appreciate the education for sure,
Yeah.
but I just,
From the building side of things, and I think that's what the commission was worried about here, of why we wanted the time limit in, because they did pull building permits,
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's the issue, and there is time limits on that, but we wanted something a little harder in there, a harder date, and whatever that may be, end up being, but we wanted to make sure that they get open.
I
And
can,
we're not just
I can
holding the
see
license out
if
there.
we were to say, within two months, some kind of action must be taken, whether you started to apply for permits or whatever, and then those things could certainly take longer. You certainly didn't get your current business open in 2 months from the time you decided to change it from a bar to a, you know, that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, from the time that we got approval from the township to move
Mhm.
forward with it, then we had to get the requisite.
And we have
permits
all
from
the other
building.
building
I think
stuff
it took
and-
about 10 months probably.
But
to
this-
get
but
the
this
Supplies
is-
license.
not coming in.
This is specifically, this is just talking about how long they have after they get the approval to show us they got a state license. That's all that's talking about.
It took us
You
10
can't get
10
the
months
state
from,
license.
from the day that we got approval from the township to move forward to the day we got the license, took us about 10 months.
The state license?
Yeah, you have to have C of O to apply for a
You
state
gotta have
license.
CO, that's waiting that up.
So that's, I guess that's,
And then after you apply for it, that's when the state has 90 days to come in and do their inspection, the licensure inspection, and
Yeah, it is
grant you that
required to
license. So
submit
that's where
proof
that
of
timeframe
having
comes in
obtained
there.
the state license no later than 2 months after receiving the municipal license. That can't happen.
yeah, so.
That can't happen.
Okay, so. Yeah, I guess we look at the statute and see what the statute says about how long the state has to react, and then we can change this accordingly.
I was just thinking, geez, I just took 6 months renovating a bathroom, so.
Well, in today's
You guys gotta
environment,
get
it
this
could be
done in
even worse.
60
I mean,
days.
Right, and then you can't get supplies.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, all
Can't
the
get
work.
supplies, you can't get labor in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
Or
or
you get
supplies,
on
or
waivers.
labor, right. They'll do,
Yeah.
It's hard to find folks, and they're also busy, but. Discussion on any of the other items. The timeline certainly needs to be addressed, and I think staff can take care of that. Look for some other.
There was a minor typo, I think, in the effective date, section 21, just amended, should be amending that.
I'm sorry, is that-
Section 21, effective date, where it says amended, that should be amending.
It could be a little weird, but.
Maybe, I could be wrong, so.
No,
Amending.
you were right.
We wanna-
commission
Yeah,
amending
just
amending.
Man, first day on the job.
Exactly.
Get out.
That's a good sign, right?
I like looking for typos.
I know. That's
Maybe
why we
it's time
put
for
them
you to
in.
retire, Tony. Maybe it's time for you to retire.
You know, you're not the first person to say that.
Other
Zach,
comments?
Zach, what other bullet points did you have? You had the one, obviously, that was a duplicate, that's obviously an easy fix, that Tony, and the other, I just wanna make sure I'm not
The
missing.
tobacco?
The tobacco
Tobacco
one
gets
was,
in on the noise and the noise.
The noise, tobacco, and the
And
noise.
Now we
noise
can
and
just make
glare, I
the-
mean,
The noise
Glare-
and glare can just
glare
be
and
referred
noise.
to our current zoning ordinance, because we do have stuff,
If you're new, there's nuisance
there's nuisance.
provisions out there already.
Yeah, and we can word something along those lines.
and I think it's important to note that I think I'm taking, I think Zach's perspective on this as, I think that was as a public citizen making a comment about an ordinance as someone that likes to use tobacco. I don't want you to view this as like since you own a business that, I'm kind of tailoring it. And I get, Audra, that makes perfect sense, and I think it's smart that when we look at ordinance, but as a public opinion, the public comments, I think those are pretty valid points. To me, obviously one was a clerical typo, a duplicate, the other one was, I think, something that we can look into.
I was a little upset that you tried to equate the odor of marijuana with pizza Sam.
It's perspective, Tony.
That's not even close.
For some people, they go together quite well.
Maybe.
That's something
We've gone off the rails now.
I move to close the public hearing.
Somebody's gotta be the
Well,
adult.
so just to clarify with that, we have some type of ordinance that we have for all of our businesses, so.
There are some nuisance ordinances on the books.
So we're gonna
We
take.
can check the state statute too to see, I think the state statute probably has some odor,
I think when we did
noise,
that before, there was.
guidelines and all that, I'll take a look at that.
I forget
Okay.
the exact language, but.
Because I do think there's a little bit more concern with respect to the marijuana and the odor and the and the noise and all that than there is just.
Restaurant.
Tony, she said it's in the rules for the state.
So,
We'll just make it consistent with that.
Yeah, or just reference, if it's already contained in the state statutes, you can just reference it. I mean, obviously, they have to comply with those anyway, so I'm not sure you need a reference to it, but.
And then the glare, what was the reason? I don't, I'm just trying to understand the reason for the glare.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't,
Lights.
you can't have windows?
Lights, no, lights outside.
We do have.
Flashing lights outside and stuff, maybe.
Well,
I get like a neon or maybe, but even then, I think that's still cool, but.
But there may be certain, some municipalities have, light pollution ordinances. I know Mount Pleasant has one where, all of your outside lighting has to be downward facing, it has to be, so many candle feet at the property lines.
We have that too.
Maybe we make that consistent, instead of saying glaring, maybe consistent with the lighting or.
But again, that ordinance is there for any building that's being constructed or remodeled, so.
Well, and that's what I would prefer, is the same, or,
Yeah.
same.
Rather than have it mentioning it two places, because when it changes down the
Right.
road, it eventually will.
Right. And
you
as
gotta
far as
find
the
it.
tobacco and the alcohol, I mean, do we have, I mean, I know the alcohol probably is a
State law.
rule, right, but is there anything about tobacco products?
Yeah, I'll check the statute.
I think there's for public buildings, but for private property, I don't believe there
Can't
is.
sell it.
Restaurants.
We can't also have a license to sell tobacco, can't also have a license to sell liquor in any form. So that is in the statute, but a couple of places have inserted the use or consumption of tobacco and alcohol into it, so.
But when you say private property, I mean, if it's a business, that's not private property, is
Oh,
it?
yeah.
It is
I mean, but
private.
that's what you're saying, I mean, so there's different rules for
Well, like
businesses or
the
different.
state law
it's not like
prohibits
your
smoking
house.
in this building.
Right, so that's what I'm asking, I mean, aren't there, I mean, but you're saying private property. I guess explain to me that this is,
This is a public,
right?
publicly owned
If I
entity.
own a bookshop, can I allow smoking in my bookshop?
I don't think so.
No, I
think
didn't
you can
think
either.
that, and that's.
I don't think you can either. I think.
But,
Yeah.
but other people, but
Open
someone
to
from
the
the
public.
Well-
bookshop could step outside and
Right.
smoke, that's what I'm asking. Can they at the bookshop step outside
Oh,
and
yeah,
smoke a cigarette?
Sure, sidewalk.
Okay, that's
The
what I'm
only
gonna-
ruling is if if you serve food, you have to be a certain distance from the
Right.
building, that's
Yeah.
what the health department, it's not in their law, but it's their,
Oh,
it's what they
Yeah.
follow. It's not,
And yeah,
it's
I-
not technically a law, but.
I don't know the details, I mean, if there was, like, your example of a bookstore, does that just pertain to the sales floor area? If somebody had an office in the back, would that preclude,
Mhm.
I don't know
You
that.
can't
Yeah,
smoke
I don't
in.
either.
You
You
can't?
can't smoke in a business, inside the business, you can't
You
smoke.
can't at all.
Doesn't matter where you're at in the
I think
business.
there's,
It's been so long since I've
Yeah.
seen anybody do it.
Yeah, I know.
It's just.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that?
There's a reason. It's been a while, yeah.
So it's already addressed.
One
Yeah.
thing that they were looking at maybe within this is loitering.
Mhm.
Obviously,
Right,
you're trying to,
right.
when we, especially with the medical marijuana, it was
Sure.
all about making sure that the storefronts look clean, there's no one just hanging out.
Mhm.
And typically, if you're smoking or drinking, you're just hanging
Right,
out.
right.
And that's, maybe that was why
Right,
that
well,
was
and the
put in
tobacco,
there.
what are the rules for the tobacco place? Can people stand outside there and smoke?
obviously.
No, I don't know.
No,
They
they do,
obviously.
they
I
do,
don't
legally,
know.
they probably, they can, but from a business standpoint, it's not a good look.
Right.
And that's.
Well, we have an establishment downtown that people stand outside and smoke every single night.
It's, yeah, it's.
I don't get out much,
It's
so
not-
it's not obvious.
It's
to me.
not,
That's
from
why I'm
a
asking. I
standpoint
don't
of,
see.
it's a more of an aesthetic and looks.
Sure,
and-
well, and that's what I'm saying, I mean, if we have rules, I mean, I just, my concern is that we're, irregardless of what the business is, that we're keeping our rules.
Well, it'd be ridiculous to chase after Zach on his way into his store to tell him he can't smoke a cigarette, like we would chase someone down at Meyer and say.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, that's,
Right,
I'm saying,
right, you're
I'm afraid that would be
agreeing, yeah,
ridiculous
right.
to say, like,
Right.
well, now I'm gonna chase after the guy at Meyer that just got out of his car and is smoking on his way in, you know, we don't, that's too much, I mean, that's,
Kind of like a cat.
that's just, yeah.
We can't, if we can't enforce it,
Right.
and aren't going to enforce it, then we need
So,
not make it
yeah,
Right.
a rule, I mean. but
Unless it's tied into the state
Absolutely,
statute.
right,
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 exactly.
yes, but that's what I was wondering, I mean, I
But
didn't
if the
know
state's addressing
if
it,
the
we don't need
tobacco
to
people could
talk
stand
about it.
outside.
Better off to stay
Well, we can
inside.
just refer to it, to the state statute, if that's the case.
I think,
I think we're talking about smoking outside the premises. You're talking about an employee probably going outside, like you see in a, the back of a restaurant or something, just outside.
I saw it at a gas station this morning. It worked.
Yeah, right, yeah, yeah.
Safe.
Hello.
Well, it's more
Struck me as a poor choice.
Yeah, it has been about, with marijuana in general, it's all been about, obviously the look and
Aesthetic of it.
aesthetic of it. So by putting those in there, it, obviously takes that out of the equation. You would like, for most businesses and business owners, you would think that if you have an employee that smoked, you would like them to smoke out back, because you don't want
Well,
somebody.
it's like, tell my sons all the time, the
So,
rules are made for
That's
the
really
people that
probably,
don't
if that's
want
not
to
state,
follow them.
if that's not the state statute, that's probably why
Right.
this community had put that next week, obviously modeled it after the last community, so that's what they were after.
Yeah, you could outlaw smoking on the street if you wanted to, but.
There's some
Might get you
cities
some
that do.
problems with that too, so.
There's some
Try and
cities.
overregulate it, try and defend it, and enforce it.
So it looks like we got some work to do on it. Will we get another copy then sent back out for?
I could do that before the next meeting, absolutely.
Yeah, there's just not a lot to.
Yep.
And also look at the matrix, if there's something that you'd like to.
If it's allowed to add some points for currently
Yep,
licensed.
that's what we'll look at.
Yeah.
I got that note out.
And that was one of my questions, if it's even allowed.
Yeah.
I don't know how much leniency we have on that.
I'll have it before the next commission, meeting, but enough time so you guys can take a look.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
If we're giving points for holding a medicinal establishment in order to get this, would then we require them to maintain that? Or else why would you give points for something that's, in theory, would just go away? I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, one thing is to reward somebody for priorly showing an interest in investing in our community.
Well, but there,
But I don't know if that's justification enough. That's where my question
I
comes in.
mean, that's a legitimate
Is
question.
it even allowed?
I mean, the legitimate question in my mind is, I could see rewarding the entity that not only got the license, but opened up. I don't, do you wanna reward somebody who got a license that didn't open up?
And that's where the gray, I mean.
I don't know if that's what you
You got
want.
a license, they went that
Yeah,
far.
I don't know how that,
Yeah. What do you judge?
I agree with that, I mean, I
I
really
don't
do.
know.
I think there should be points for that,
so,
so.
it's up to you guys.
That's what it is.
Let me know.
I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I think it's showing, I mean, and I suppose it would be, I don't know, I mean, if we're trying to make things equal, I guess if somebody had some other kind of business within the city that, it's open, that you're giving points, my feeling is someone doing something that has generated.
So if I have a widget store, I get that point also.
I think
It's
so.
not
I think
necessarily-
that's.
I think so, I mean, again, if we're making it across, I mean, I would like to be as even as
Yeah,
possible.
that might alleviate some of the problem with, because like Audra said earlier, if you do it just for the 3 that are medically licensed,
Right.
are we then tailoring it to favor these individuals and we're not really holding a fair, free analysis? So, that may be a factor, but if you just did it in general,
Right, that you have been open business in the city of Almont and you get points for that.
And also promote local businesses from pursuing.
but then you get into, okay, well, I sell something out of my trunk. And I live in town, but I sell it,
It doesn't count.
well, it's a business. I mean,
Well,
if they're-
no, but if they got,
If you're a
but,
licensed business,
listen, but
I mean-
are they licensed? Because there's so many of those fools driving around with ice cream or whatever else that haven't gotten their license. So, I mean, we have asked these people to stop into City Hall and I suppose if,
We don't technically license them, we ask them to get a permit, I believe.
well, some, yeah, so
Others
that's different
permitted,
then, I
right.
mean, if you, yeah.
So, you can go down these rabbit holes, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that counts as that. I mean, again, if someone who is driving around on their bike selling something wants to apply, then I suppose that's a consideration.
They'd have to meet all these
Points
other
for it.
things
They,
too.
exactly, they have to, right, it's
Yeah.
not,
They gotta have a location. and-
right,
Yeah, they have to have some major investments. and that's
correct,
what happen
yeah.
here.
Your bike in a basket, right. I'm sorry.
Well, there's always
No,
where
I
you draw the
know,
line.
well,
on those
and there
things.
are, right, but I mean, I think in terms of being equal and fair as much as possible, I think that if, an already functioning business in the city of Alma, no matter what they're selling, they should get some points.
Agree.
We do have a motion support on the table during the hearing. Are there any other comments or questions before we take a vote on that? soon, so, okay, I'm hearing nothing, so those in favor of closing the hearing would be yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. The hearing has been closed, thank you. I think you now have enough to redraft
Yes.
the fine points there. Okay. Thank you very much, appreciate everybody's comments and your participation tonight.
I think he said he's gonna send us the ordinance back out to try to get it just before the next meeting.
So the
December
plan,
13th.
I believe, I would expect that we would actually do the vote next meeting. December 13th. Right? That would be my expectation, whether it comes to fruition or not, it's up to the board, so. Okay, moving down to E, consideration of a request for purchase of professional services from Fishbeck for development of a wastewater industrial pretreatment program, which is called an IPP for short, in the amount of $39,500 to develop, implement, and acquire Eagle acceptance of industrial process wastewater, also to authorize the execution of the related agreement with Fishbeck. Your pleasure.
Support.
Motion support. Background? Do this?
If we discussed this a couple times, this is, the process that is, it's at Avalon Tile is looking to put in a process for powder coat, for the coat manufacturing. Before we can, receive any of the discharge from that process, we must have a industrial pretreatment program in place. And at the same time, the company must also put their own IPP program together at the same time. So, these do cost a little money. This will come out of our enterprise funds for the wastewater plant. This will be helpful as we move forward. Any other industrial users, though, that would like to do something that would require this, so it could be in place. Typically takes about, from start to finish, about a year to get approval through Eagle with this, so it's a long process. But this gets us started, and from start to finish for this $39,500.
Comments or questions? One thing comes to mind, I mean, this is, we're hearing Fishbeck for, I guess, a lot of the heavy lifting here. How much burden is gonna be on staff to complete the process?
Dave?
Just gotta give us a general idea of what we're asking our team to do in addition to the purchasing.
To be honest with you, at this point, I don't know. We just had preliminary conversations, what they're gonna do. I know, first of all, is go through our orders to see where all the limits are, and then find out where that is in state law, find out what type of chemicals we're going to be getting, what that process looks like, and then looking at the plant. Probably going to be at least, every 2 week to 1 month meetings, at least to set this thing up, to get it going. It also, part of that entails, time with an attorney as well, to draft up ordinance language, so there may be, ordinance amendments or changes that we have to bring before this board, to be a part of it as well, so. It's, it'll be a process, but I don't know exactly off the top of my head how much time it's gonna involve.
So at this point, is it fair to assume that you think our current staff has the capacity to go through this process and get things implemented, or are you gonna be requesting or needing more personnel?
I don't know that right now. I'm anticipating no, but to maintain the program, stay tuned, because what that's going to entail is more site visits and annual site visits. Once this does go and get implemented, there was a time we were in this program back 20 to 30 plus years ago, and then involved staff time to go out and meet and do site visits, sampling, and that sort of thing. So for the implementation process, no, but to maintain it, it could, but I don't know quite yet.
And any indication, I mean, do we have the ability, or is it common for industrial sales processing fees to be associated with this elevated level of service? I mean, is there a way to offset our costs through the industrial folks that are gonna be using the services?
That's, we
directly?
have that question out to Eagle right now. I don't have the exact answer for you. Some of that cost to get implemented in the IPP could be recouped by the industrial users once we get applied. But right now, they're looking into that answer to find out if you can go through that. Part of the additional work to get onto this, as far as recouping extra money, there potentially, I would forecast the ability to, before you take that waste, it could be a surcharge as part of this for certain users that push us to be that could be something to be explored.
And I mean, it sounds to me, the way I understand the program, it has benefits beyond this one user that we've got interested right now. So if we can attract other entities that might avail themselves of the process, to our advantage to have it. So the initial startup costs, I'm not so concerned about, but if there's, ongoing month after month after month into infinity costs, I would like to make sure that we recoup that from those people that are using that process, rather as opposed to, the one-time costs, we can absorb, and that's kind of an investment in our community, but I think users, generally, we try and get, recoup the cost of those who are using services. So, something to keep in mind, I guess, as we move forward.
That's a fair question. And this program, to get this up and going, it's not a one-size-fits-all. So as Eric mentioned, if you have one user, others have to get on as a part of this too through state requirement changes. This starts a framework for that, so you don't have to restart the process. At least you've got the outline started, but then you have to look at their processes and find out what we would have to do to change to accept whatever their waste may be. The one reason we may not have to get onto this, if a user were to so decide, they'd have to take their own material stored on site and truck it off or haul it off. Typically, that can be more expensive to do than to give it to us.
So we
also
process it themselves.
Yes, and process is also, can we maintain, can we collect it, do we have the means to treat what we accept? So that's all part of this study.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. No questions? Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So I believe we have a motion on the table. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Resolutions. First up, we consider a resolution of an annual resolution of intent for fiscal year 2024, declaring Alma Transit's intent to provide public transportation services and to apply for state financial assistance in accordance with this annual plan, which Public Act 551. Your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion support. Comments or questions? Any background from
This is
staff?
just our annual resolution sent in that without this resolution, we cannot request funding through Act 51 to pay for our transportation system through the federal dollars and state dollars.
Pretty broad.
Yep.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor, be yes?
Yes.
Any opposed is no. Motion is carried. Move that far. Consideration of resolution, to consider adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a Michigan Department of Transportation fiscal year 2024 contract clauses certification for Alma Transit, acknowledging review of contract clauses and compliance requirements on behalf of the city of Alma. With pleasure.
Move it. Support.
Movement support. Is that fiscal year 2024 correct? In this?
It is.
Okay, so good. Okay, make sure.
No, there.
We're not skipping a year. Okay.
Again, this is to verify that we understand that there's terms and conditions of all funding that we receive.
Strings.
Yep, strings. And that we understand those and that we will follow their requirements and guidelines to receive such funds. And that's a lot deeper than that you have that in the packet. It's a substantial.
But again, nothing new.
Nothing new.
We've done this before.
We've done this before.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, those in favor be yes?
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. Okay, number 3, consideration of a resolution to approve budget amendments and related equipment purchases and unanticipated repairs at Alma Transit. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
Motion support, okay. Background?
Yeah, I'm gonna have Curtis take that one or Dirk
Me or you?
take that one a little bit better.
Shot
It's up to you.
Whoever can explain it the best.
Well, that's. I can explain what we need the money for, but.
I think that's what we're primarily interested in.
So yes, there's 2 budget amendments before you. The first one is for something that we've already approved. It's for a grant. This is to make sure that both the revenue and the expenditures in the budget so that we can authorize the actual spending of the money that's already, for the grant that's already been approved. The second one is the unanticipated expenditure that happened this year. So the transit door to the building is currently basically not functioning. It's broke and not being able to be use, plus it is not currently up to, ADA compliance code standards, so in addition to fixing it, why it's a little bit higher is that we would like to, go ahead and actually get the, now that we are replacing the doors, since we have to replace the doors anyway, since they're not functioning correctly, we'd also like to make them ADA compliant.
Step up here too, Curtis, so I can kind of get some color on that.
Tech genius, that's how we.
Sure, absolutely. We'll
Aren't
get
there
it done.
rules that we have to, if we're doing, I mean, that you have to make an ADA
Well,
compliant?
they weren't, which is surprising to me, back in 2009 when the building was built. It wasn't
Right,
planned
but I
then.
mean replacing things, I mean, aren't we now obligated to do that?
The tricky thing is there's things where if it's grandfather, it depends on if you are,
Grandfather.
right, if you're grandfathered in, if all you're doing is technically replacing, is how I understand it. If you were to build a new, you would have to, but if you were to replace something that exists, you're kind of grandfathered in, but as a best practice, I would highly
I think
recommend
it,
not.
yeah.
I mean, we cater to those people
Absolutely,
who
no, I
have
think we should, I
disabilities.
just wondered if.
And
had a
we
legal
ran into a
obligation.
situation actually where there's a gentleman in a power scooter that wasn't able to actually, it was raining. And thank goodness that the garage, it was warm enough that the garage doors was up, so he actually wheeled himself into our garage because he couldn't get out of the weather, because he couldn't get himself through the doors. And so, I mean, that's, to me, now that the door's actually broken, the wind caught it because it's an incredible wind tunnel through there, and actually sprung the door and broke it on top, so it's locked and closed on the one side, but still have access in and out, and the estimates that we have, I mean, those dollars should cover it, but unfortunately, due to COVID again, we're looking at like a 4 to 6 month time to just be able to get the doors in for the replacement.
Questions? You brought up a point, so I gotta ask now.
Sure.
You said the wind sprung the door, which I get, I've seen that happen many, many times.
Yeah.
Are there any modifications we can do to put up wind blocks that might prevent, I mean, this time we might have repped an $8,000 door, but if we're replacing them with $25,000 doors or panels or something we could put up to.
I think the actual mechanism is different so that it won't allow the door to spring open. I mean, it's a slow open instead of the.
The contractor should be able, because when we build ours, we're in that back parking lot, that's what happens, the wind.
Yeah.
And it took the Wilcox door right off, I mean, like, right off the, and so we told him about that. When he built it, put it in and built it, he did something so that it wouldn't,
A mechanical opener.
there's something that, I don't know, Danny probably knows better than I do, but there's a thingamabob that's.
A thingamabob.
You know, I don't know, but it.
Looked into the whatchamacallit
Yeah,
and
yeah.
prevents it.
Slowed it down, and also, then when it opened it, there's something back there that stops it from going any further, too.
Some kind of a break or
So-
something.
And if it's ADA, it's gonna have a motor at the top that automatically opens and closes, and that's what's gonna probably prevent it from doing anything. And I think if you're doing renovation, you have to comply with the ADA.
It's the right thing. I would say
With a
so.
renovation, I think you have to, there's no grandfathered in, you can't, that's not a thing.
Well, it depends though, because you can be ADA compliant without having an automatic,
Yeah, it depends, is the door wide enough?
Oh, yes, it's double
It's
door.
So then you're probably okay.
so,
but
cause like,
yeah.
we don't have the button on our, but we're still compliant with.
I just don't want anybody being stuck out in the rain
No.
and weather again.
You've got a little different situation going, you
Yeah.
probably should have that.
Because when it was built with federal monies.
Sure.
And at the time, codes do change over time. It had to have been built to code, because
Oh.
they would not sign off on, especially on public transportation, without meeting code at the
Surprised they
time,
even had
so,
that then.
yeah, so.
No, and I'm very much in favor of doing it, just talk to your contractor, make sure you've got
Oh,
whatever
absolutely.
safeguards you can put in.
I'm looking for some kind of a guarantee.
And do you have, is that an airlock in there for energy efficiency? Do you have
Yes,
two sets of doors?
there's 2 sets of doors.
Two sets of double doors, so you really got 4 doors. So you're replacing all 4 doors then?
It has to be that way.
And the mechanism, yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't do any good to just do 2, so.
Because the current doors are aluminum, and that's what we priced or quoted out was aluminum door. The steel doors, there's still the same kind of a lead time, and then you have an actual heavy steel door, so. All the vendors that were quoted, they said, you definitely don't want a steel door, you want a aluminum door.
And you have some little lady that doesn't wanna use the handicap, but she can't get it open, 'cause it's too heavy to, to push open, so.
I don't think steel is used much, though. I don't recall seeing many steel doors in commercial buildings. It's been aluminum for a long time. so.
Yeah.
Okay. Last chance for questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor would be yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed is no. Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 4, consideration of a resolution authorizing a letter to the Healthy Pine River Group in support of an application for a grant from Michigan Department of the Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, which is EAGLE, to reduce nutrient and E. coli pollution in the Pine River. Your pleasure.
Move to adopt?
So motion support. Did you have any background
Yep,
from them? I mean, you
yep,
got the letter, but-
Yep, Hythe Pine River, the co-chair, Chuck Sandro, reached out to me today or yesterday, we blend together, and asked if we could provide, which we did back in 2020, for a similar grant, to the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, for a non-point source grant. This non-point source meaning that obviously we don't know where the sources of contamination come from. So this grant money would be for research and testing in and along the middle pond to see what's there. Also, there'll be some surveys done with residents along that impoundment area, and to see what is actually there. And so this will be the second time they're reaching out and trying to receive some funding out of this program, and they're just asking for our support. It does mention in there that we would participate in planning and the project itself. What that would entitle is basically, we've done some studies ourselves already with the property that we've purchased over the years, and we've done studies, providing those studies, and then provide and being available to Eagle for questions and stuff along those properties. So it isn't going to take a lot of staff time to help them out with this project. So that's about it.
All right, so we had a motion support, or motion support on the table, and in full disclosure, I'm not a member of the executive board of that group, but I have been a member of the group for a number of years. And personally, I'm very supportive of what they've been able to accomplish and what I've seen, in working with them and listening to them, listening to the talks and things, and seeing what other communities have done, where they're much farther along in these processes, because these things just take years, it seems to drag on forever, but other communities have made substantial progress in cleaning up the waterways that go through their town and making them more suitable for recreation and hiking next to them and all kinds of things, so, and the long-term goals are very admirable here, I think, so. Personally, very much in favor of them. So with that, last chance for comments. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. The motion is carried. Thank you. Okay.
Did you realize on the agenda, we have the police presentation under both new business and communications?
Yeah,
Were we supposed to do
the
that?
amendment changed it.
We switched it.
And then we,
Oh,
and then
okay,
we
'cause
switched
now
it
I
after
have
it was
Okay,
amended.
because I was like, I have it on here in 3 spots, so I was like.
We can do it again, but they're gone.
No, I just was like, should we have taken one of them off? But okay.
Amendment, there was a deletion at the top of the amendment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I
I
deleted
didn't-
that.
Oh, yep, deletion's right there. Hello. Oh, long.
Yes.
And for my, this is out of order, I know, but my water authority report, I thought we were gonna add that on there regularly when we have meetings.
I
And I
apologize.
didn't
I'm
think-
saying that's my fault for not
Okay.
asking.
And I,
to do that.
when I came in here at, right at 6, didn't think to add it to until,
That's my
didn't think
fault.
until I looked at Dave, and I was like, that's when I started going through my thing, I knew I had notes in here, so.
Do you want to include it with commissioner comments?
If
or is there
that's
something-
what you would like me to do, I can do it, that's fine.
What we could do is, we pulled my city manager report. I was at that meeting also, and I can defer to Roxanne.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go, perfect.
I apologize.
That's
Roxanne.
okay, that's all right.
Sounds like a good idea here, so. Okay, ordinances, consideration of a resolution to introduce ordinance number 837 to amend the zoning map of the city of Alma as it appears in section 60-52 of the ordinances of the city of Alma to conditionally rezone a parcel of property known as 224 East Center Street from zone B1 Central Business District to zone R1 Single Family Residential. Excuse me. Your
So
pleasure.
Move to introduce the ordinance. Support.
Motion support, comments, questions?
Talk
Talk
about this. Yep, real quick, it's the home that was gonna be one of our marijuana medical dispensaries, and that fell through. through, they're now that licensed out of Pizza Hut, the old former Pizza Hut. The new owners would like to turn the home back into a single-family residence. The only way to do that, since we don't have an adjacent zoning district that's R1 or R2, is to request the commission rezoning. So they've met with the planning commission already and made a recommendation to move forward with that, so this is in front of you.
Last chance for comments and questions. Hearing none, those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll move down to reports of officers, boards, and committees. Any commissioner may receive any of the following reports by one resolution, or any commissioner may remove any of the items within the section for individual discussion and vote. We have 3 this evening: the Planning Commission, November 7, 2022 draft minutes, the Finance Committee, November 22, 2022 report, and the City Manager's report. Your pleasure.
Move to receive the Plan Commission and the Finance report.
Second?
Second. Any additional comments or questions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. We have received them. I'll entertain a motion for the City Manager's report.
Move to receive the City Manager report.
Support?
Motion support. Take her away.
All right, just some small things, we've actually discussed a couple of them are, that's in the newsletter. Congratulations to all the new commissioners and the newly elected commissioners. The Michigan Municipal League is providing a training for newly elected commissioners, and it's a good refresher for those who have been in office for a while also. They're providing it on 4 different times through in-person and virtually. Dates are for in-person, November 30th, and that will be in Lansing. Then there's also one on January 21st of 2023. I'm sorry, December 8th. Oh, no, I'm sorry, to 12th, January 12th in Ann Arbor for in-person. And then the virtual dates, there's one December 8th, on December 15th, and then there's one on January 21st, virtually also. There is a fee involved with that. We will pick that, the city will pick that up if you would like to attend any of the trainings. The training for each one of those is the same, so it isn't like you gotta go to the in-person or virtual, it's the same for those. And it's a good overview of Open Meetings Act, freedom of information, government finance, that sort of thing. So if, I know Andrew's reached out to me about doing one of the virtual ones already. If any of the commissioners here would like to attend or virtually also, let us know and we'll get you signed up for the one that can work for you. Water Assistance Program. Curtis and Amy attended a webinar regarding a water assistance program through the Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency. It's a long thing to say. Anyway, they received some funding through the federal government during the COVID relief funds to help low-income individuals with paying their water bills and wastewater bills for an amount up to $650. The folks that would qualify for it, they've used up that money for those that would qualify. So what they've asked is, could they expand those dollars out to the rest of the state of Michigan? And that's what they're offering across the state if communities want to get involved in it. From what we can gather, it would take basically a memo of understanding that this board would approve. We'd send it into them. It doesn't sound like, from what we've read, and Curtis can jump in if I'm speaking incorrectly, it wouldn't take any of our real staff time to do this. It's all ran through the family and then through the agency from Wayne County to do that. And they would send us, they would request the information from us, and they would send us a check to put toward their bills. We think it's something that obviously doesn't cost us anything, could help out a few of our folks that would qualify. It is very tight qualifications. That's why they still have money left over, because obviously they gave all the money they could out, and the maximum is $650. So if this sounds like something that we'd like to do, we'll have memo of understanding ready for the agenda. We'll approve that and get that program going.
Even if it helps just one family.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking into all that.
Yeah, it's very helpful, and we can get some of our books caught up with some of this, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Win-win.
We've already talked about the industrial pretreatment proposal. We leaf collection. We've had some challenging weather. The guys have been, the crews have been out working during this time period to still pick up leaves. Obviously, we're gonna have some warmer weather, so we will continue to do that. Please don't bag it. If you do have leaves, break them to the curb. In your areas that, please pay attention to the schedule, because some of the areas have already gone past. We are gonna end on November 29th, for sure. That will be our drop-in date, but we're gonna try to get everything off the curb. It should be a little easier now with the snow off of them, but the guys have been working really hard to get those leaves off there, so. It's a hard job when the leaves are dry, and now that they're wet, so it does take longer, so.
They seem to be a little bit ahead of schedule, just checking on other places too. They were in my neighborhood today, and they're not scheduled until Friday and Monday, I think, so they're just trying to get ahead and catch everything they can. Good for them.
Yep, they're doing a very good job. Lead service line investigations, we're happy to report that we've had this question. Would we be able to get all the ones that we need to get changed out, either galvanized or lead? They're all been galvanized, changed out for a year. We have done that. We are good with what we're supposed to replace for this year. Obviously, going forward, we'll have more to replace, but that is good news that that is all done. We've had a lot of our staff out doing their actual testing for their different licenses, which is a good thing, because we need folks who are qualified. So we will be getting back to investigations here. We have this month, with the snow and the freezing, we can still do some interior inspections when it's freezing. When it gets too cold, we can't do the outside stuff. So we're continuing to do that. But like you mentioned, I think you've seen the posts on Facebook of our water main breaks that have, they've been popping up at this time of year. Some of those areas are just, it's time to replace them. So they're gonna continue to happen, but they're getting replaced. Solar ordinance, inside the packet, I did get a copy of Pine River Township's and Arcadia Township's solar ordinances. I was able to attend the public hearing at Pine River Township for the proposed DTE project. That's out of Pine River. The attorney and the planner that they had hired to come in and talk about the project did a very nice job of walking through basically point by point of their ordinance. I think their ordinance, if I got a chance to read through it, it's pretty much every single thing that you would think about you would need in an ordinance, be it at the industrial level, that's large scale level, down to the residential level, providing opportunity for people to make their voices heard. Plus, if there are issues after the project is underway, them to appeal of, talk about glare, that was, that's a big thing when it comes to solar. That's what people are worried about, and proper buffering and all those things. So there's a way for people to appeal that. So if you don't have any comments, what I'd like to do is talk to Kevin Beeson about that. If we could borrow a lot of that ordinance to start to create, craft our own, we'll get that
Definitely.
going in.
Definitely want to
Get
move
Tony
on.
working on it real quick before he's.
But having that
We've
full
only got
oversight
5 weeks left of Tony, we gotta get everything in.
Squeeze everything out of him we can.
But sitting through that, it was about a 2-hour meeting they went through with their public hearing, went fairly smooth. The project was approved to move forward.
Where are they planning?
There's some pieces along Winans, there's some areas like 46. I can't, it's just, I'm not too familiar enough with that area, but it's a 425 acre project. Not everything is covered by solar, but everything that they need for the project is 425 acres.
Okay.
To make it work. So, and then where they're putting it, I do know this for sure. The reason they chose this area that they're doing it is that the substation that they currently have there that services the windmills does have extra capacity, so they could run what is generated by the solar to that substation and send it into the grid, so they don't have that extra investment of a new substation. So that's why they chose where they're doing that right now. And then just encourage everyone, can't believe it's almost here, but come home for the holidays, December 9th, and then the Jingle Bell Run, December 10th. That evening's festivities kick off at 5:45 with the Larrymont Lighted Christmas Parade. There's a tree decorating contest that evening. We've been typically getting 20, 25 trees, so come on down to look at those. We do have Santa, so the kids can meet with him. And Mrs. Claus, we have Mrs. Claus there this year too. The Christmas Cash, we do have a total of 41 participating businesses this year, so that was a nice jump from last year. And I just can't believe this is a 12th one, and the run is at 10 years. So I'm sorry, I'm looking at my note. Just had a dyslexic moment. The run is at 12 years, and our Christmas celebration is at 21 years. So it's been a long time. So and we did hold a gala meeting last Friday, and Roxanne has some notes for you.
Yeah, we met on the 11th. There are two ongoing projects, the Well 12 project and the St. Louis Well Abandonment project, and the restoration is in good shape. He did say, excuse me, that we don't anticipate any water issues, but they will continue to monitor the water levels in the area for at least a year past bringing Well 12 online. The well house masonry walls are up, but no roof yet, just like with everything else. Waiting on electrical equipment, moving things in as soon as possible, but construction will be delayed to make up for the electrical equipment delay. Supply chain issues with piping, not available until January. Wells have been abandoned, disconnected, the well houses, but we'll finish up in the spring because we're just waiting for supplies. Because across the state, the epidemic of can't get piping, electrical, anything else is a problem. Consumers Energy can't get a transformer for their service either, so waiting for next month's truck before the electricity comes out there. Or has it now been pushed back?
It's hopeful for
Hopeful.
us, that's, yeah, we'll say that, hopeful.
So it's just like with anything, it's supplies, waiting.
They have 8 million transformers.
So,
Seems like, huh?
but other than waiting for supplies, I think everything's going along as planned. That covers it.
Yes, 8 million
Great,
transformers.
thank you. Thanks, Eric, for
Thanks so
having me
much.
here.
8 million transformers.
Okay, I guess if I could piggyback on your report too, with a little report, you and I both attended a fire board meeting, and we just haven't given reports on that sometimes, so. Did want to touch, just make everybody aware, we talked about an agreement, interlocal agreement between the various townships and the city of Alma for providing fire service for the townships as well as the city, or portions of the townships at least, portions of some, complete other townships. And the board, we agreed to that, we've signed it. 3 of the 4 townships signed it, but there was a 4th township that declined to sign it as of our last meeting last night. And they had some concerns, and I believe we addressed them. Just want to give everybody a heads up in case something happens. There was some talk that that particular township apparently felt that they would be better served if we reconvened or reconfigured all of our fire services into an authority, which to me is a really big deal and would take a lot of analysis and potentially could have a lot of implications in many areas. So just a heads up on everybody who wants you to be aware that that did occur. So that interlocal agreement was not completed by all the entities. 4 of the 5 did. We were one that did, but one of the townships did not. So I think we've addressed everything with that township, and I'm hoping that they will come back signed at our next meeting, but you got anything further on that?
No, yeah, then our next meeting is December 19th, and they do have a meeting prior to that.
The township.
The township, yes.
Yeah.
And then the indication that they gave us at the meeting that they felt that the conversation was answered enough of their questions that they take it back to the board and discuss that, and hopefully we'll get that signed, so. One of the major things that we did, and we discussed at our meeting, was we changed up the formula of how the contributions come in. It went from more of an SED and some other things that got thrown into this, and more of a run base over a 4-year period. So that was probably our biggest thing there. Then the other part was to make sure that we get our partners a proposed budget early enough. So that's why we're meeting in December and January, to make sure we get them a budget that they can take to their public hearings are in March for their budgets, and they do their budget approvals in April. So we're still a little bit different on when those things get approved, so we'll be working with them over the next 2 months to make sure that we have a proposed budget that all of us agree with, and provide the services that everyone has come to expect from our fire district. And they do a very good job, and that was one of the things that came out during the meeting, even though we were having these discussions, that every entity felt that, even one that hasn't signed yet, felt that they were getting good service, and we have good people working, and that they didn't want to leave necessarily, but they just had some concerns that they wanted to go through. And then it all comes down to, when we all put our budgets together, is trying to make sure our budget's balanced, and they're no different than us. So, but I'm glad you brought that up.
And at the same time, I almost neglected a huge item. We did, the board unanimously agreed, all 5 or 4 townships in the city, the votes were unanimous to allow the fire department to move forward with speccing out a new truck, a new pumper truck. And, actually, a pretty advanced truck from my perspective at least. It has, seems apparently it's revolutionary, but they've moved the controls to the pumper inside the cab. So now when the guys are parked, or the people are parked, the guy that's operating the truck is now inside instead of standing out on a shelf, might be covered with ice, the smoke and the snow coming at him, and now they'll be inside the cab, which apparently is revolutionary, but it seems like it's just totally logical at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously, these are very expensive pieces of equipment. The fire district, between our contribution to townships, I think we're running about $500,000 a year to operate this and keep these pieces of equipment. So it's a big deal, and as Eric said, we do have a very good fire department. They're top notch. They're well trained. These guys, people will show up. When the bell goes off, they leave their families, they leave their jobs, and they show up, and we're very grateful to them. And so I think that's why everybody was in favor of providing the best piece of equipment we could. It'll last probably 20 to 30 years too. So
Yes, and the technology is taking care of our people. The cab is what they call a clean cab. So the smoke, that's where you get your carcinogens and the possible down the road cancer causing situations. So that's another one for the clean cab. This one also, this particular pumper holds an extra, I think it was 1,000 gallons, I believe, close to 1,000 gallons.
it's about 1,000 more than the current
one, which is very important as we move into the battery age of electric vehicles and that sort of thing. It requires much more water to get them cooled down than obviously with normal gasoline engine fire that happens. So just head and shoulders above what we currently have. But these, like Greg mentioned, they're 25, 30-year investments. So if you don't get the technology now, you're stuck with what you got for another 20, 25 years. So it was nice that everybody said, hey, let's go out and get some bids and see what we got. So and we'll be right around the corner looking at budgets again ourselves. So but our neighbors are just do it a little bit sooner.
Thank you. Does anybody have comments or questions for the city manager's report? And the addendums that Roxanne and I provided. So, okay, with that, we've got the motion. All those in favor would be yes to receive it?
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried, we received it. New business, we took care of that. Appropriations, anyone in favor of paying the bills?
Sure. Pay the appropriations.
Second.
Okay, motion support, comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Any opposed, no? Motion is passed, thank you very much. Commissioner comments? Roxanne, you want to go first tonight?
Sure. Another congratulations to the police department and their impressive accreditation. And a thank you to Nick for his calm voice of reason and his humor. He'll be missed. And thank you and welcome Andrew for stepping up before your time. We appreciate having you here. So I think that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
David?
Just echo what Roxanne said, just thank you to Nick and everything he's done. I think his perspective was great throughout everything that he's voted on, and him actually taking a similar role as Andrew did, stepping into a role that was appointed. And then congratulations, thank you, Andrew, for stepping in a little early.
Thank you. Roger?
Not much to add to those. I always appreciated Nick had kind of a different way sometimes of just cutting through the smoke sometimes and just looking at stuff in a little bit different way that I think was always very helpful. And I look forward to Andrew's participation on it. And to our police department, just congratulations. They are just head and shoulders above, as we learned tonight, above 90% of the police departments in the state of Michigan, which is really good. Really fantastic. The First Presbyterian Church annual Thanksgiving community dinner will take place indoors this year, back again. I have reservations for in the vicinity of 350 right now, but it's not over yet, so.
How many can you have?
We have had a total of around 450 in the past between carryouts, home delivered, and in-house stuff. It's off a little bit this year.
Well, I didn't want to share it if you were like at 375 with your limit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have some more room, there's still some room in the dining room. I think we changed it, we did not do it 2 years ago, and then last year we did it as a carryout. And we've done all the advertising that we can think of to let people know that we're back and we're in the dining room and looking forward to it. I have, I think, all of my usual help back to get through all of it. The rest of the Allman family starts appearing tomorrow night, including the triplets, 2 of whom want to work in the kitchen this year, and 1 wants to be in the dining room. So anyhow, looking forward to it. It's a crazy day, but
It's amazing.
I can sleep on Friday.
Thanks for doing that. To the Allman family and all the volunteers, because it's amazing.
yeah, it is, yeah.
It's, wow, those are numbers.
They're gonna take it. Audra?
I missed the last meeting. I was at the 30th celebration for the Community Foundation, which was a great event, so I didn't get to congratulate Roxanne, Danny, and Michelle on being reelected, and congratulations to both Drew and Lori for their elections, for their winning the election. It's pretty amazing. I too agree, Nick was great to work with. For someone that was coming on new, like I did, he was very respectful and kind and answered all of my questions and helped guide me along the way. So I truly will miss seeing him on a regular basis and appreciate him. Congratulations to Elma PD. I think that's an amazing accomplishment, achievement. Putting on my child advocacy hat, you probably have heard that Officer Tyler Kinsey is now detective, which is exciting for Children's Advocacy Center at Child Advocacy because he's our new detective over there. So he'll be working with us on all of the child abuse investigations that come through our office. So we're excited to work with Tyler Detective Kinsey. And, it's pretty great. So a lot of good things are happening. We've got Shop with a Hero back in person for the first time since 2019. So December 10th. Unfortunately, it's the same time as the run in the morning out at Walmart and Meijer. But if you see all the fire trucks, police cars, don't panic. It's for a good cause. So excited about that. We've had people that say, I turned around and left because I saw the ambulances and the police cars and the fire. It's like, no, it's Shop with a Hero. It's okay. There's nothing going on out there.
All right, thank you. Michelle?
Congratulations to the police department. Obviously, we're all excited for the Scotts. Nick, we thank him so much, and Drew, I should tell you that I always remember when Nick started his comments, so I might butt in for the next couple years. When you start, my mind will think of something else. And then Presbyterian Church, thanks to the Almond family and all the volunteers. I just wanna ask the community to definitely check on your neighbors and your friends that might be by themselves. It's a hard season for a lot of people. They've lost their loved ones or they're alone, so we just gotta make sure that we check all of our neighbors and make sure they're doing all right. And welcome to Drew and Lauren. Thanks for stepping in.
Congratulations to the Alma Police Department. It was really neat to be able to be here for that. That was cool. It's an honor, obviously, to be up here with all of you. It's my first meeting up here, but I've watched so many meetings, and everyone around the table here I've been so impressed with in all the meetings that I've seen, and the thoughtfulness and shown to the decisions made, the questions asked. I'm kind of humbled to be here, and Nick as well. Nick was always a great kind of thoughtful voice watching those meetings. And I'm happy to be here and be here to work with all of you. Also, just a note, go Scots. So if you can make it out to the game, noon on Saturday, very cool that we have that again in town. That's it.
From what I hear today, even if they win this one, the next game will not be here.
That is my understanding.
Yeah, both, whatever other teams would be seated higher than Alma, and we would probably get the nod for whatever they would.
Pretty amazing and cool that we got
This
two.
far.
I don't know that we would have gotten this one if the other team
That's
had
correct.
won. So
Mhm.
that was cool.
So when they win this one, yeah.
When they win
That's
this one, yeah.
That's what I heard.
And they'll keep winning.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think they will.
The field doesn't matter, they can go anywhere, so.
Great.
So, is that, you done?
That's it.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah? Tony?
I'd just like to reiterate what everybody's already said. I won't take a lot of time. The Alma PD is fantastic. We all knew they were fantastic. It's nice to see them get the recognition that they deserve. Nick was, I think, it was important for him to be here. I think he really offered a lot, no question about it. And go Scots. And great to have you. Congratulations. I'm sure you do a great job. These are great people. You're 100% right. And Roger, I'll tell you, man, what you do for this community is amazing.
What year is this, Roger?
30.
Yeah.
30 years you've been doing it?
We're at a time right now too where food insecurities are at their probably highest, at least since I've been in this field. And so what you're doing, feeding people, it almost makes me teared up because we have so many hungry families. So, I mean, I said this in our board meeting today, St. Louis schools are 94% free and reduced lunch right now. It's the highest ever, so it's a hard time, so really appreciate you and your family.
Absolutely.
And you're bringing on the next generation, which is even better.
Yeah.
It must be genetic.
We're all
It's
crazy.
in the gene.
You know, the funny thing about that is every one of my family members lists Thanksgiving as their favorite holiday, and it's because of this. We work our little butt and we're exhausted at the end of it, but there's not one of us that would give it up.
And there's probably several families that come to have dinner with the Almond family every year.
Yep.
Like that's their tradition.
Yeah.
That's my family's problem. My favorite holiday is Halloween.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Well said, yeah.
Okay. Lawyers out of order. Okay. There's a sign. Eric.
Just very proud of the LMPD. Obviously, like I said, they've been working on it for 3 years. I kind of came in this last year, learned a little bit of what they were trying to work on. Chief Overla, Sergeant Gulick, and Sergeant Jury were the three that really worked that made that happen, like Mark said. So very proud of them. Very proud of our other staff that is continuing to get their certifications. You mentioned the water, 4 of our guys, I believe 3 did. 4, 3.
In water, we had 2, wastewater, we had 3.
Okay.
4.
So 7 of our guys out there getting their certifications to move up. So, like I said, trying to fill the younger folks to make sure we have the people to run our plants and things, can't be more proud of them too. Yeah, real proud that the police department was able to do that. When I talked with a couple of these gentlemen that were here tonight, and they kind of filled me in on how rare it is, especially a department our size. They didn't really mention the size of departments that typically get the certification, and they're much larger than us, much larger. Talking about 30,000 population communities. So that's something to be really proud of. And yeah, looking forward to the Scots. Happy Thanksgiving. And Andrew, sorry for the little bump there in the road. Sarah, thank you for taking care of that.
Thank you, Sarah.
I don't want to do that. I appreciate you.
We like to test Sarah's
Yeah.
nerves.
No, I appreciate
That we do.
Sarah, it's completely unintentional, we're not doing it on purpose.
I appreciate Sarah getting to take care, and I appreciate Andrew being patient to step in and do that. Like I said, this has been every time we turn a page, we're learning something different and new, and this is something we've never done before, and probably will never see again. So I appreciate your patience. Knock on wood, I appreciate your patience.
Sheriff, will there be some kind of write-up about the police accreditation that we can share? Okay, we probably do know. Thank you.
Public service announcements.
I did
Good.
take a few photos of the gentlemen that were talking, I'll send those to you, so you just in case you need them.
Yep, perfect. Wonderful. Yeah, again, congratulations to everybody, the elections, everybody that won. Certainly congratulations to you guys, the 3 incumbents that won. They're coming back. I think that speaks volumes to the job that you've done. We're certainly gonna miss those that are leaving us. Nick, was a great asset as well. I know I leaned on him quite a bit, and always appreciated, as everybody has mentioned, his opinions and his perspective on things. And he sometimes would put me back on the rails when I got off it, so I need that help still. So I'll look to everybody else to help on that.
Tony mentioned it last or 2 weeks ago too, that I thought about it. The more I think about it, the more impressed I am that the 3 top vote getters in the election were the incumbents. And I think that kind of affirms what we have been doing for the past couple of years.
Absolutely true. And a lot of respect for everybody that serves. We don't always agree, but I think everybody does their best to be agreeable at least and be civil. I apologize at times when I'm not, but I think everybody does a good job with that, and I don't think anything is said with ill intent ever. So I'm very grateful for that, and I look forward to, I think the composition of our next board starting in January is going to be similar to that. I have no reason to expect anything other than that. So look forward to working with everybody again next year. So. And Sarah, again, thank you for the last minute hiccup. Again, you came through and got it for us, so yes, appreciate it. Congratulations, everybody. If there's any members of the public that would like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name and address, and share your thoughts. David, you're good. We're looking at you. Hello.
Golly.
Anything to share?
Sure. Les is gone, isn't he? We've got to look to you. Isn't Les Roseanne gone?
David Jessup, 305 Hastings. Been interesting to watch everybody, obviously watched over the years and appreciate what Audrey brought and what everyone else brings. And it was a lot of, this election season was really interesting for me, and Ryan obviously lost, but I enjoyed the opportunity to get to know Roxanne a little better, and now that I'm also on the County Planning Commission with Dave, so just look forward to continuing to serve and appreciate all the effort that you folks put in. And it's great to see our police department get recognition, and it's really important to have confidence. So, thank you.
Thank you, David. And appreciate everybody that runs for these offices and serves on all these boards that go without recognition and do a lot of the heavy lifting around the county. So, okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn this evening.
So moved.
Got a motion support, last chance. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried, we are adjourned.